just want to say what a privilege I felt it to be a couple of weeks ago, being there in that court with Theo and Hinkley and the other campaigners, knowing what a fantastic job they were doing on behalf of us, but on behalf of the entire population here at Hinkley. So thank you very much, Theo, Nikki and everyone active. Over the last few days, I know we've all been watching the television, listening to the radio, the coverage of Fukushima and the experience of those people over the last year and the state that they've come to there now. Last night I was watching television and they had pictures of removal of the topsoil there, trying to take 5 centimetres off the topsoil of all that contaminated area. And there was commentators saying how much that will cost, whether it will actually be effective, what a disaster has been wreaked upon that region. The dislocation, the trauma, the tragedy that those people are facing in Fukushima and the surroundings every day. There was coverage of a primary school, which is the only place in that area where there's been some measure of success with reducing radiation to safe levels. And even so, those little children were in that primary school wearing the face mask continually in order to protect them against that poisonous legacy. And in the light of that, it is shocking and absolutely appalling, not only that the industry myth makers and the government and so on is continuing to come up with excuses and justifications for going ahead with nuclear power here, but it's also appalling that people from the environmental movement, from the green movement, from the peace movement, have made that turn towards trying to justify that and disgraceful form of energy. And I know that we all stand here together fighting that on a daily basis. And I think that opinion polls, as Caroline said, opinion polls here in Britain and around the world do show that the tide has turned significantly against nuclear. And I know that we all hope that out of that tragedy of Fukushima, that changing opinion, that turning tide, will be some way of things, something good coming out of the terrible catastrophe at Fukushima, and we're all working together to make sure that that can be possible. I think what's particularly appalling is that in a situation where across Europe and across the world, many governments have now rejected nuclear power, not only places like Germany and Switzerland and Italy, but many countries in the global south. Venezuela, I was reading about yesterday, has put a block on its nuclear power program. That in that situation, our government, our own government here, should be like the last great hope of nuclear expansion. And I know that we've all been horrified when we've seen how our government turned to the nuclear industry in the days and weeks after Fukushima to give them excuses, to give them justification for saying that our nuclear power system was safe. And I think that is one of the things that we have to break above all, that corrupt and lying relationship which exists between our government and the nuclear industry. That is not something that we can tolerate. Yesterday I was on a radio debate. Actually there were 3 people in favour of nuclear power and me against. But just some of the rubbish that they come up with, frankly, never ceases to amaze me. There was a guy there from Chatham House, the so-called respectable think tank, which is supposed to give interesting and useful information and thought-out commentary on these things. He was asked by the presenter, well, what about the health and the safety and sort of death consequences of the catastrophe at Fukushima? And he said, well, actually there was a negative death toll at Fukushima. In fact, because the power station was so well built, people inside the power station were actually protected when the earthquake and the tsunami struck. So that was his great contribution to that, and I think that continually we hear that. He also said that no one was dying or would die as a result of that. No one had died or would die as a result of Chernobyl, which we know is absolute and utter complete rubbish. So we have to work to break that down. And I think that the work that we do in the media and in the wider campaigning with our politicians is absolutely fundamental. We've got a big machine, as Theo said, against us. We have to work to break that down. So finally, can I just make a point which I know we're all aware of about the link between nuclear power and nuclear weapons. We see this repeatedly now, how our government is not only encouraging the development of nuclear power here in Britain, it's also encouraging the development of nuclear power worldwide. I think the previous Prime Minister, Gordon Brown, actually contributed to a fund to expand nuclear power development globally. Yet at the same time, our government is supposed to be working to prevent nuclear proliferation. And of course, one country which has gone down the route advocated by our government, developing nuclear power, in other words Iran, now they're threatening to bomb Iran on suspicion of development of weapons of mass destruction. That is the ultimate disastrous link, or disastrous implications for nuclear power, the danger of nuclear weapons. So today I'm calling on our government to break its nuclear addiction, this insane and criminal addiction, both to nuclear power and to nuclear weapons. We have to say no to both. I believe that in both cases we are at a tipping point. We know that the population of Britain is opposed to both in their majority. That's what we have to build on today. And I thank you for coming here today and for all the work you do. You represent hope, you represent life and the future of our community, our country and the planet. Thank you very much.